Quote Resilience. My name is Aron. I'm a certified Warriors at Ease teacher. I'm so glad you could join me today. We're going to do a practice to build strength and a sense of ease and well being and freedom in the body. Um, so let's go ahead and start seated. Just finding easy seated posture, whatever that means for you. If you have any gear you want to use, feel free to have it nearby. I like to sit on a block. That lets me have a little more ease in my hips. So feel free to make any adjustments, any variations you need to make so this works for you. I'm going to lead us in this practice, but the practice is yours. So you're free to make it your own. And let's take a few moments just to get settled in. Release any worries or concerns about anything that's happening right now in your life. And see if you can actually focus on what is happening in this moment, using all of your senses. So noticing what you see and hear, smell and taste, noticing what you physically feel about being in this space right now. Maybe you can notice the sense where you're being supported by the surface below you, letting yourself be supported. Maybe you can feel the air where it's touching your skin. And then letting that awareness move deeper than the skin, starting to notice the muscles and bones, joints, organs. And as you bring awareness into that felt sense of your body, if you need to make any adjustments, feel free to do that. And like I said, you can make those adjustments, those modifications, those variations anytime you want as we're practicing together. And as you're noticing that felt sense of the body, starting to notice that the body is breathing. It breathes all on its own. There's no additional effort that you need to make that happen. Notice the felt sense of your body breathing, the rise and fall of the chest and belly. Or perhaps you're aware of the feeling of the air moving past your nostrils or your lips. Maybe you can feel the breath on the back of your throat. You can stay here, simply noticing your body breathing its natural breath. You don't need to change anything. I am going to lead us through a few rounds of a breathing practice called 3-part breath. You're welcome to join me if you want. And if it doesn't feel right, you can come back to breathing your natural breath at any time. If you do want to follow me for 3-part breath, you can keep your hands where they are, or if it's helpful to help you feel this, you could put a hand on your belly, or maybe one on your heart. And on the next breath in, we're really going to think about sending the breath to the lowest part of the lungs and notice how that makes our belly expand as our diaphragm pushes down, our organs in our belly push out a little. And then we're going to keep inhaling into the middle part of the lungs, feel the ribs expand. And then keep inhaling all the way to the top of the lungs, feel our chest expand in that space right in front of the heart. And then we're going to reverse that. As we exhale, we're going to let go first from the top of the lungs, let the chest soften. Exhale from the middle of the lungs, let the ribs soften. Exhale from the bottom part of the lungs, maybe even draw the muscles of the navel back towards the spine to help empty that air out. And then we're going to take a fresh breath, inhaling navel, inhaling ribs, inhale ribs, exhaling navel. I'm going to lead us through one more like this. Inhaling navel, ribs, and heart. Exhaling heart, ribs, and navel. If you're following me for that practice, you can release the hands, Release that control. Come back to breathing your natural breath. Maybe even taking a big, deep cleansing breath and letting it go. And then we're going to come out of this seated posture and over onto our hands and knees. If you want for a moment, you can take knees a little wider than hips distance and let the big toes touch. And then from there, you can let the hips drop back towards the heels. If they don't touch the heels, that's fine. They don't need to come all the way down. And if that puts a lot of strain on your knees, you can even try rolling up a towel or a blanket to put a little extra cushion there and keep some of that strain off the knees. And then we'll walk the hands forward and bring forehead to the mat, or if it doesn't feel right to come all the way to the mat, you could put a block there, or you could cross your arms or stack your fists. And this is a child's pose. You can come back to this if you find this restful whenever you want to take a break or catch your breath or get refocused. Or if there's another posture that helps you do that, feel free to come into that. Let's take one more breath here. And then we're going to come into a tabletop posture. So we're going to bring the hands onto the mat, spread the fingertips wide, bring the shoulders right over the wrists, and walk the knees back towards hips distance and bring them right underneath the hips so that we're able to have a long spine here. So the arms are strong here, pressing into the hands to keep the torso lifted. The legs are using some strength here to keep our torso lifted. And we're also using the muscles around our torso, around the trunk of our body to keep the spine long. So those muscles right behind the navel, they don't have to be sucked in, but just a little bit firm. All right, and then let's start to warm up the spine. Inhale, lift the tailbone, lift the collarbone, let the belly soften and the chest lift. Into cow pose, exhale, rounding shoulders, doming up back, tucking the tailbone. Into cat pose, and then let's do a few of those. Inhale, lifting to cow. Exhale, rounding to cat. See if you can let your movement slow down to match your natural breath. So you may be on a slightly different rhythm than me. That's fine. We all breathe at a little different pace. So go ahead and let this movement follow your pace of your breath. Maybe one more time through. One more inhale, one more exhale. And then we'll come back to that flat back, that long spine. We're going to slide the hands forward just a little bit so that they're not right underneath the shoulders. They're just a little bit in front. We're going to keep the fingertips spread wide, and we're going to tuck the toes under. So if your toenails were on the mat, we're going to tuck it under so the pads of our toes are on the mat. We're going to use the muscles of our core to lift our knees up just a little bit. They're hovering over the mat. They're still bent. And then we're going to push our hands so that the hips come high and our chest comes towards the thighs. We're in this inverted V, this downward facing dog. The knees might start to lift a little bit here. You can even bring the heels down towards the mat. That's going to lift the knees a little more. But as you do that, if you notice that you start to bring the shoulders over the wrists like you're coming into a plank, then bend the knees as much as you need to so that you can bring the chest towards the thighs. See if you can get your ears so they're almost between your biceps. I want the spine long to be the priority. We'll think about lengthening the legs as we continue to practice. And then let's all soften the knees, bend them even more. Look at our fingertips and step our hands and feet together until we're in a forward fold. We can keep the hands on the mat, or you could bring a block over here to change that a little bit, or you could press against the front of your legs. We've stepped the feet just a little bit wider, maybe out towards the edges of your mat. And let's see if we can release in the neck. Let the top of the head be heavy. Let the shoulders be at ease. You can even maybe shake head yes or shake head no. If having your head below your heart makes you dizzy, slide your hands above your knees. Drop your hips a little bit. You can keep that roundness in the back, but bring the head above your heart. So you know your body better than anyone. Find what works for you here. Let's take one more breath. And then we're all going to slide our hands up to our hips, right where the thighs meet the torso. Press into the heels, activate the thighs. Those strong legs are going to let us come back up to standing. And then we can shake that out a little. All right, and then let's come back to stillness. We're going to step the feet together. Not all the way together necessarily. Let's maybe keep them at hips distance. Ankles, knees, and hip bones all aligned, making a strong foundation here. Letting the toes point forward, feeling the soles of the feet where they're touching the earth. We're going to really feel that sensation, pressing through the toes, the outside edges, and the heels. And notice as you press down into the earth that you energize the muscles of your legs. Strong muscles are going to keep you balanced and tall. And so are the muscles in the trunk of the body. So let's let that energizing feeling continue to move up the body all the way to the top of the head. And then along with that strong energizing feeling, we're also going to find a sense of ease. So if you find you're holding tension in your forehead or your jaw, let's let that soften. If your shoulders are up by your ears, let's exhale, let it go. The arms are at ease at our sides. We are going to turn the upper arm in the shoulder socket, so the belly of the arm and the palm of the hand face forward. And as you do that, feel that shift in the chest. The chest opens up, more room to breathe. The shoulder blades now are sliding down the back. So it's not a matter of yanking the shoulder blades back to lift the chest. It's an opening. We're allowing that to happen with that rotation in the upper arms. Let's check the knees. We're strong in the legs, but it doesn't mean we have to be locked out in the knees. We want the joints to be soft. We want that powerful pose to come from the energy of our muscles, not from locking out our joints and being rigid. Let's take a breath here. We're going to add some movement. Inhale, let's reach the arms out and overhead. And exhale, hands to heart center. Inhale, back bend. And exhale, let's dive forward, hinge through the hips, soften the knees. We're in a forward fold. And then inhale, we're going to come halfway up. See if we can find a long spine. I'm going to turn so you can see that. See if you can have the back flat, just like we had in tabletop. So if straightening your legs makes you round your back, let that long spine be the priority. Let the knees soften so that you can have the back long. And then exhale, we're going to fold forward. If you need to bend the knees a little bit more, go ahead. In fact, let's all bend our knees more. Let's drop the hips and press into the heels and keep the hips where they are. Lift the chest up. So it's like we're hovering over a chair. Your hands can stay on your thighs for support. You can challenge that trunk of your body a little bit more by bringing hands to heart center or reaching out in front. And notice that to keep this balance, we are using the muscles in the trunk of our body. See if that can be a sensation of drawing back rather than pushing out. Can you use those muscles to hold the one more breath? I'm shaking. I don't know about you. Let's press into the heels, activate the thighs, come back up to standing. And I'm going to turn back to face you. All right. Let's take the feet a little wider. We've built some strength. We're going to find some openness and build some more strength in some warrior poses. So I'm going to extend my arms out fingertip to fingertip. I like to use my wrists to measure how far out I need to put my feet. I want my ankles to be almost under my wrists. And then I want to rotate the toes to point forward. And right now I want to have my whole body centered right over the hips. So the torso, the head, the shoulders are all centered here. I'm not reaching forward or back. And I'm going to turn the toes of my right foot to point to the right. And again, just thinking about alignment here, I want that left heel to line up with the end step of my right foot. That's going to help me balance. If that right foot is way in front, I'm going to feel like I'm falling back. And the same thing, if it's way behind me, I'm going to feel like I'm falling forward. So go ahead and make an adjustment here if you need to. And then we're going to bend that right knee and start to come into a lunge, keeping the body centered. Remember, we're not shifting forward. And if the knee comes over the ankle, that's fine. If it's a little bit back here because of your range of motion, that's fine. If you do find that you have the knee way out over the ankle like this, then maybe take a little bit bigger of a step, or maybe just back off of that a little bit so that your knee isn't coming out over the ankle. So there's alignment front to back with this knee. There's also alignment side to side. Since our body is facing forward, sometimes that knee drifts forward and comes to the inside of that big toe. But we don't want to do that right now. We want to use the strength in our thigh and our seat to bring that knee in line with that second and third toe. So take a glance down, see if you can make that adjustment. You probably are also going to feel some opening happening in that hip crease, especially if you're tight there, you may feel that. You're welcome to take a break if you need to and straighten that leg and come back in. If the arms need a rest, you can stretch them up and release them back down. Let's look over that right shoulder for just a moment. And now we're all going to straighten that right knee, drop the arms down. And we're going to come into a triangle. So we're going to slide that right hand down the right thigh, keeping the body rotated here. I know there's a tendency as we slide down to want to turn and face that leg. That's another posture. We're not going to do that today. We'll do that another day. For today, we're going to keep the chest this way. So that may mean you can't come down as far. So if you need to slide the hand up a little farther to keep that, go ahead. You can lift the left hand up if you want or not. Let's take a breath here in this triangle. And then we're going to change it again. Now we're going to bend the knee again. See if we can keep that alignment, your forearm on your thigh. Same thing. Let's see if we can keep the body facing the front. You can drop the left arm down to your side. Or if you want to do an extension here, think about rotating the arm in front of your chest, in front of your face, and then bringing the bicep right by the ear. So we have a long line from the fingertip along the left side of the body all the way to where you're rooting down through the outside edge of that left foot. I feel this. I don't know about you. Let's take one more breath and let's release and come back to the middle. Let's turn the right toes to the front and we'll do the same practice on the other side. So left toes turn, take a moment to get that good alignment, get the body centered, and we'll bend that knee. Coming into that warrior two stance, you can stretch the arms fingertip to fingertip. Let's take a glance down, make sure that knee is where you want it. Go ahead and make any small adjustments or big adjustments if you need to. And then take a couple breaths looking out over the left shoulder this time. All right. And let's straighten the left knee, drop the arms, slide left hand down the left leg, reach right arm to the sky. We're in that triangle. You don't want to lift that right arm, you don't have to. You can leave it at your side. But let's see if we can keep the chest facing the front. So remember, this is from a rotation in the torso. We're not keeping that arm in line by yanking the shoulder back. We can really hurt our shoulder there. This is from a rotation in the trunk of the body. Don't forget to breathe. Feel the breath here. And then we can bend that left knee and come into that side angle on this side. You can drop the right arm down, or you can rotate it like the arm of a clock to bring the right bicep by the right ear. One more breath. And then let's come back to the center. Maybe heel toe the feet and then shake that out. We're going to work a little bit on balance. So we're going to bring that idea again of that chair posture back into this balancing posture. We're also going to open through the shoulders. We're going to do something called eagle pose. But this time when we come into that chair feeling, we're going to come from the top down instead of the bottom up. So once again, let's bring our feet back to hips distance. Let the toes point forward and find that sense of ease and strength and balance here in that mountain posture. And then inhale, we'll reach the arms out and up. And exhale, let's bring the right arm in front and then stack the left arm on top. So to the best of your ability, trying to get those elbows stacked on top of each other. And then there's a couple options here. You can bend the elbows and reach the fingertips back towards your shoulder blades like you're giving yourself a big hug here. Another option is as you're crossed here, you could bring the forearms up in front of your face with the backs of the hands touching or towards touching. They may not touch. And then if you get here and you feel like you've got a little more room, you could bring the palms of the hands towards each other into a twist. So these are all valid options. Find what feels best for you. I'm going to do this big hug because that lets me see what's going on in front of me a little bit better. And then we're going to remember that chair posture. We're going to start to let the weight shift to the heels, bend the knees, lower the hips. So we're back here in this chair posture. You can stay right here. You don't need to change anything. Or if you want, you can cross the right knee over the left. The lower you are, the better balanced you're going to be here. If you're way up here, it's going to be a little more wobbly. If we lower that center of gravity, you're going to feel a little more stable. You can see right now I have my right toes on the mat. They're like a little kickstand helping me balance. If you want to challenge that more, there's always something you can do. You can lift those toes up. And then depending on your legs, you might be able to tuck those toes behind your ankle. I'm not able to quite get there, but if you want to play with that, you're welcome to. It's okay if you wobble. It's okay if you have to put that foot down to catch yourself. That's part of the practice, to see what happens, play around, accept what comes with that practice. Let's unwind. I'm getting really warm here. I don't know about you. Let's shake that out. Whew. Those eagle postures always get me really warm. Let's come back to being still because we are going to do that on the other side. So let's take a moment, reset, restore, and then let's do the same thing on the other side. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, left arm in front. Right arm goes on top. I think I got that right. Just make sure you do the opposite of what we did before. Bending knees, lowering hips. This time we'll cross left knee over right knee. Sinking down. Remember, you don't have to add that cross if you don't want to. You can stay in that chair posture. And you don't even need to do that chair posture. If you want to just do the shoulder opening part of the arms, you can do that. Make this practice your own. This is for you. Let's take another breath. And unwind. And shake it out. All right. Let's come back to being still. Step our feet a little further apart. Let the toes open up wider than the heels. Right now, my heels are wider than my shoulders. We're going to come down into a squat to make our way back to the mat. So let's inhale, reach arms out and up. Exhale, bend the knees, lower the hips. You can come here into a goddess posture with a little support, or if you want to lower down a little bit more and bring the hips below the knees, you can come into garland. We're only going to be here for a moment or two because we're going to make our way all the way down to the mat. So let's come down. If you want to take a moment here to rest, you could come to child's pose or another posture. We're all done with our standing work. We're going to do just a little bit of work on the mat. So then we'll get ready for some much deserved rest. All right, let's press up and let's come onto our seat, and I'm going to turn to my side so that you can see this next part a little better. And we're going to sit right up on our sits bones. That bony part of the seat, that's where we want to be rooted down to the earth. We don't want to be sitting on our tailbone and rounding the back. We want to find that long spine again. So here comes that long spine supported by our trunk. Maybe think about drawing back on the muscles of the lower abdomen. And right now the knees are bent, but we're going to start to lengthen them out in front of us. As you lengthen your legs into this staff pose, if you notice that you start to round the back, then bend the knees as much as you need to keep the spine long. Again, this is the priority. The long, straight legs will come as you continue to practice. We are going to keep the legs active though. Even if your knees are bent, let's make the legs strong. Flexing the feet, pointing the pinky toe up to the sky. Let's take a couple breaths here. Feel the staff pose. Letting the shoulders drop from the ears. And then we're going to slide our hands behind us and lean back with that long spine. I like to have my fingertips pointing to my hips. Some people prefer the other way. So go ahead and play with that. Find what feels best for you. And we're going to do an opening in the chest, and I'm going to show you a few different options. So one option is you can keep your seat on the mat, draw the shoulder blades together, lift through the chest. So we're getting that openness in the chest. Another option is you can bend the knees and do a reverse tabletop, lift the hips up. And then another option that you can play with is keep the legs long, press into the heels, lift the hips up, point the toes. Oh, I don't have enough room for my wall there. There we go. Point the toes, try to bring them down towards the earth. Lots of options. You'll notice as we squeeze the muscles in our back body, that opens the front body. Let's exhale and come down. Let's reverse that. Let's fold forward. Again, you can soften your knees. Think about trying to bring the chest towards the knees rather than the head towards the knees. Maybe imagine you're trying to bring your head all the way past the soles of your feet. This may not be a big movement. When we're hinging from the hips instead of rounding the spine, it's not going to look like we're going as far. So don't worry about that. Think about drawing the muscles of your navel in. That's that contraction that's going to help you fold deeper. So this is building strength in the core. That's the muscles that let us fold. And then that allows the muscles in the back of the body to open up. So when one side's contracting, the other side is opening. Inhale, let's come back up. And then exhale, let's bend the knees and lower all the way down to the mats. We're going to be on our backs for a minute or two. Whew. We're almost time to rest. We're going to do just a little more opening. Okay. So let's walk the heels in close to the seat. Bring the hands next to the sides of the body. We're going to press down through the soles of the feet, the palms of the hands, the forearms, and the triceps. And as we press down, we're going to lift the hips up. Lift the low back, lift the middle back. Maybe tuck the shoulder blades under. So now we're opening in the chest. We're lifting the hips. We're squeezing the back of the body to open in the front body. And then exhale, let's lower down. One vertebrae at a time. Let the feet come out a little wider. Let the knees fall side to side like windshield wipers. And then back to center. Let's walk the feet back to hips distance. Let's do one more bridge, pressing down to lift up. You can keep the hands here if you want to. You can interlace them under your seat. Let's take a couple breaths here. And let's release, lower down. Maybe hug the knees in. Grab the back of the thighs or the front of the shins. You can keep the knees in close, or you can let them come out wide. Keep the feet together. You can do a reclined butterfly, or maybe let the soles of the feet come up towards the sky in a happy baby pose. And again, you can rock a little bit here. Sometimes that's a nice massage on the low back, or you can be still. If the knees are wide, you can bring them back to the center and bring your feet back to the mat. Check in with how you feel. If there's any other movements or any other posture that you want to come into so that you're ready to rest, go ahead. And then when you're ready, go ahead and find a posture where you can rest for a few minutes. We worked really hard, so you deserve to take a few moments to be at ease. I'm going to sit up so that I can Make sure you hear me. Sometimes my mic doesn't pick up when I'm lying down very well. And if you've been controlling your breath while we were doing the physical practice, you can let that control release, come back to letting your body breathe its natural rhythm. You can let your eyes soften. They can even close if you want. Notice that there's nothing you need to do. Your body breathes all on its own. Breath comes and goes without any additional effort. Once again, becoming aware of everything you're experiencing now. Any thoughts, images, sounds, emotions, sensations. Noticing how all these experiences come and go in your awareness, rising and falling. Just like the breath rises and falls in the body, there's nothing you need to do. This is your time to rest. And let everything be just as it is. Feel free to rest here as long as you need to. I'm going to close out our practice. I hope you enjoyed it. You come back into your day. I hope you give yourself a little bit of gratitude for taking time for your health and wellness. Notice how you feel. Notice if there's anything that you want to take with you from your practice back to your daily life or to your next practice. I thank you for sharing your practice with me and for joining us for Operation Remote Resilience. I hope you enjoyed this. It will be available on the Warriors at Ease YouTube channel shortly, so you can come back to it if you want to practice again. Be sure to subscribe. That way you can know when we're having any more practices live. And then, of course, you can always come back and do our practices with us again. And if you get a chance, visit the link in the description below and consider making a donation so that we can continue to make these practices free for all. I really appreciate viewers like you because it makes it possible for teachers like me to provide these practices. So this is Aron signing off in health, resilience, and connection. Thank you.